Greetings, I'm Evan Swenson. I'm an author and a book publisher. I'm also a member of Author Masterminds. Author Masterminds sponsors Readers and Writers Book Club. Today we're having a conversation with Rebecca Wetzler. Rebecca is also a member of Author Masterminds. Rebecca, good afternoon, or morning, or wherever it is at your house. I guess it's afternoon there as well, huh?
Yep, it's afternoon.
Yeah. Well, greetings. We're pleased that we can have this conversation.
Oh, thank you.
Now, you are an author.
Yes.
And
yes. New one, but a long road to get there.
And you have written at least one book and some other articles. And you're a member of Author Masterminds, and you're also a member of Readers and Writers Book Club.
That's correct. And I enjoy all of them.
Well, let's talk about where all of this started. There was a beginning, I guess, but I guess to really introduce the beginning, we have to talk about your book just a little bit, because the beginning kind of was what stimulated the book, if I remember right.
Right. So, my grandmother gave us each one of us a recipe box and a scripture in it saying, write down your blessings. And this was about 30 years ago. And first I started writing down my blessings. And then I struggled with various things. So I started picking out my favorite scriptures and wrote them on the card, and on the back of it I would write a prayer. And that was really helped me get through some of my difficult emotions. And then I decided, well, I'm writing these, so many of these, I should put them in a book, in a devotional, 365-day devotional. And so that was a journey of 30 years, if you count the 5 years it took me to publish it. It took me 25 years to write it, with, having kids and a career and all the other things that come with life. And it was very exciting to finally see it in print and accomplish that whole task. And
you had a book signing, release party, as it were.
Yes.
Yeah. How did that make you feel when you saw that book in your hand and people would talk about it and want your autograph and that kind of things?
That was very exciting. It was a small party, but what made me feel really good is that my friends showed up and my family, and so it was, these people knew how important this journey had been, and they came to celebrate it with me. So,
you had really good family support, and still do, as I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw a photograph of you and your children with a little saying to the side of that photograph, and that looked like a happy day, but maybe that was not as happy as it looked. Tell me about that, Rebecca.
Okay. When my daughter was 1 and my son was 4, back in the 80s, one day my husband woke up and decided he didn't want to be married anymore, and he just walked out. And I was devastated. And a couple months after he left, I thought, we're still a family, my children and I. So I really wanted to take a picture of the 3 of us. You know how you do family pictures. And I wanted to have that to show that we're still a family, even though I felt like a broken family, we were still together. And I took a few of those kind of pictures throughout the year. So as they grew up, I have 4 or 5 of the 3 of us in a picture, and that was really comforting to me.
You didn't start there, obviously. There was some things that led into that, like you had a youth. You were a little girl one time. Tell us about that. What your little girl, where did you grow up, your family, a little bit about you?
I was born in California, and we lived there till I was 9 years old. I have a sister that's 13 months younger than me, and then another one that's 6 years younger, a brother that's 7 years younger, and then my youngest sister's 9 years younger than me. So I was the oldest of five kids. When I was little, back in the day when people still sewed clothes and that sort of thing, my mom sewed a lot of my sister and I's outfits, and she liked to dress us all the same. And we were kind of cute little girls with all our outfits matching and our hair and that sort of thing. So, those are some good memories of when we were little.
And so you grew up and went to school and did all of those kind of things. You graduated from high school, I know that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Those were some rough years too, because I've struggled with depression all my life, and it's a process that you kind of go through and pulling yourself out, and that's why my moniker is Purposeful Overcomer Through the Fruit of Faith, is because you have to purposely overcome things if you're not, a naturally bubbly person.
Rebecca, when you were in high school, you actually had depression, suffered that in high school?
Yes. I mean, being the oldest, I had a lot of responsibility. And my parents, sometimes both of them worked 2 jobs. So I was always responsible for the younger ones.
So you learned to cook and housekeep and all of those things?
Right. And the referee, because my sister that's 13 months younger than me, she liked to be the boss. So sometimes there was a little bit of contradiction between her and I. For the most part, we all got along, but there was a few tense moments there, or afterwards you think of it's funny, but not when you're going through it.
So, but then somewhere along the line, romance came into your life.
Yes, all I ever wanted to be was a wife and mother. And a year after I graduated, I met my husband in a bowling alley. We were part of a bowling league at the Elks Club downtown in Alaska, Anchorage, Alaska. And part of why I liked him so much is he noticed me. I was kind of a wallflower that, was invisible to people for the most part. So that was really nice to have someone notice me. And we got married on his 18th birthday. I was 19. And of course, people always say, oh, that's too young. But I thought, oh, no, I can do it. And we were happy for 6 years. And then there's the cliche of the office secretary, and he didn't want to be married anymore. And then I had 2 little babies that depended on me. So I couldn't, crash and burn. I had to overcome. I had to be purposeful about it. And so I went back to college and worked part-time, raising the 2 of them, and started a successful career.
So Rebecca, when this romance came into your life at 18, and your husband just a year younger.
Oh no, he was a year younger than me.
Yeah. And so when that romance came into your life, you didn't plan on even thinking about what was going to happen down the road 6 years.
Yeah. No, certainly not. I thought we were set. We, had a trailer and we sold it and bought a house. We had 2 cars. We had the American dream, if you want to call it that. And I was happy. I did have 3 different miscarriages, so having children was a struggle. And so once my son and daughter were born, it was like, okay, I'm through the rough patch, not even thinking there would be an even rougher patch ahead.
So did this divorce and did this come to you as a surprise? Or was there a feeling that was going to happen along the way, or just one day you were happy and earth ended for you?
Well, the last year, there was a few hints in the sense that we were arguing some about money. He liked to spend it. I like to be the practical. We don't have it. We don't want to go into more debt kind of thing. But those are typical, issues between couples. So I certainly never thought that was going to be the end of us. And plus, he thought the kids were toys to play with, not necessarily care for. So the care was all on me, but I enjoyed doing it. So I didn't, most of the time.
You were a mother and you were looking after
Right.
your children and protecting them
Right.
and taking care of them. And you continued to do that without a husband as a single mom.
That's right.
So, and you went back to college, held a job, cared for your children. And you would think by then, Rebecca, that life was good. You're past your depression. So you wrote a book and you decided to be positive about things and have joy in your life. So is that what it is now, or is there still a struggle?
There's still a struggle. For all those years, I struggled. There are some depressions that, are situational and you can get through it and, get back to life as normal. A doctor once told me I'm one of those people that it's chronic and I have to deal with it on a regular basis. And I also have chronic pain from various things, and that's doesn't help. When I was in 7th or 8th grade, I fell off the balance beam. You know how they have you in school, you have to try all the sports?
Yes.
So they had me try gymnastics, which was, not a good thing. So I fell off and hurt my neck. And it's another time I was hit by a car crossing the street, and, just odd little things that happened. And so I'm sure that didn't help my depression issues. However, I wouldn't let myself stay there. Like I mentioned, it's a process. So what helped me was starting to write this book. I had, starting with my grandmother's suggestion and then writing my favorite scriptures and prayers was really a balm of Gilead, or a soothing thing for me, that I could just reground myself and know that God was watching out for me and my children. And there were just special times that I knew He never left me. I knew in my darkest, saddest moments that He was right there with me and leading me out of that darkness into His light, showing me there is joy in every day, and the joy in my children, and the joy in nature. Just you can find something to be thankful for, even if you might have to try hard, like, oh, I made the lights while you're driving to work, or, it's just some things, just some simple things. You can always find something to be thankful for and get yourself out of thinking everything is falling apart.
So you deliberately did that. You recognized, I'm depressed, I'm unhappy, or
Right.
And then you said, but I'm not going to be that way. I'm going to do something about it. Is that what you're saying?
Right. I'd be worried about money, for example. How am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to raise these 2 babies by myself? And then I have the reminder that I'm not by myself. The Lord is providing, and He always did. There was always enough money. There was always a place to live, always food. I could always, get my kids clothes. I bought most of them at the Goodwill store. One Easter, I bought my daughter a dress that had red in it, and then my son clothes that had red in it, and it was a checkered jacket. And when my sister saw it, she goes, "He looks like a little car salesman." But I was glad that I was able to, buy a special outfit at the Goodwill store, and my son looked like a little car salesman for Easter that year. So I was able to, I had my kids in different sports to try to keep them active and out of trouble. My son was in karate, my daughter was in gymnastics. So the money came in for those aren't cheap. And the Lord led my career. If you look at my resume, I just step up in every change of it, even though there were some times when I had to leave a job, I was thinking, where am I going to go? How am I going to get another, good position with good insurance? And then a good position and good insurance would come through. So, just after seeing the Lord act in my life over and over and over again, I have gained a confidence that even when I'm facing troubles and fearful situations, that I can just pull myself back purposely and pray and overcome those fears and be able to keep going forward and not be immobilized. Some people, and no disrespect, but they get immobilized by their fears, by their depression, by their pain, by whatever it is that's most difficult for them, and it can stop them.
Well, Rebecca, that sounds like that's also a choice. You either choose to be happy and find joy, or you choose to be unhappy and be depressed. Is that what you're saying?
Yes and no. I read a book years ago that's called Happiness is a Choice. It's actually a workbook for people struggling with depression. And I wouldn't say I would call whether you're happy or joyful a choice. I would say it takes work, and it's a cycle, and you need to not give up working that cycle to get yourself out of it. So from that perspective, you could call it a choice, is that you don't give up, that you keep fighting whatever is the most difficult for you to overcome it.
Mm-hmm. So there's a little cliche that I heard one time, and let me see if this fits with what you're saying. It says, if you're not as close to God as you once were, guess who moved?
That is a good one. Yes. And you're right. I totally agree with that, because the times that I've kind of gone off on my own tangent, and often you don't even realize that you've moved until something really gets your attention, and then you move back. And yes, that's what the not giving up, of getting back into the path with the Lord. And that definitely is a good one.
Well, Rebecca, you're now have a book, and your children are raised.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your family. The joy of family now.
Yes, I was thankful through, especially their teenage years, that they, didn't go off the farm, so to speak, that, they had some normal troubles, but they both grew up and have become really wonderful adults. And they both have families now. And what was fun about, as they had families, my daughter had her two girls first, because she got married first. Then my son had a little girl. Then my daughter had another girl. And then my son had one. So that every year for 5 years, there was a new grandchild. So they're all 1 year apart. So like now they're 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and 5. It's excuse me, it's fun to have them all close.
Rebecca, Grandma Rebecca,
Yeah.
Grandma Wetzler, whatever they call you. How is it, Rebecca, now to look back on the times when you had those two little kids that you were worried about a place to live and how you're going to feed them and that. And now they're grown up adults, have happy families, and you've got little ones running around calling you Grandma Wetzler.
Yeah, when I look back, I have a mixture of emotions, because I do wonder, how did I manage to do that? How did I get through that? And I also look and see that we came out okay. We made it. We had joyful times. We had difficult times, but then we were always able to, I don't know if straighten up is the right word, but we always got through and had each other.
Yeah, always fell down, but you ended up standing on your feet in the end. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Right. And I did what had to be done. And my kids, every kid has something their parents didn't do right, but my kids love me. I still have, close relationships with them, and I'm very thankful for that. And plus, the jobs they do are to benefit the community. I always liked working at jobs that, rather than a for-profit company, which is fine, we need that, but I liked working for like the school district and the university and Providence Hospital. I liked working for those places because I felt like I was giving back to the community. Well, my children do that as well. My daughter works in the peds department at Providence, and my son works in the juvenile facility. And so they both are giving back to the community.
So they're serving others just like their mother did. You trained them well, Rebecca.
And they both are very solid Christians too, which is really the most important thing, is that their spiritual growth, despite the trials I thought we had, they still were able to grow up with that strong faith as well.
Good for you, Rebecca. That is wonderful to hear, especially in this day and age when there's so many troubled youth out there, and that carries on into families and the destruction of families. Your children are followed their mother's teachings and they're doing well. Your daughter is now working at Providence, and she has a different uniform on today's world than she would have done 2 months ago, I suspect.
That's right. And it depends on which patients, how much equipment she has on. And she sent me a picture of herself. She was at one of the sites where people are being screened, the drive-through places. And she looks like an alien to me. And I told her, how can people take you serious when they come up to you and see all that gear? How can they take you serious? But it is good that she's well protected and that she's, trying to help people stay as well as they possibly can. So I enjoy that she, is just a caring person.
Good for you. That is nice. Really nice. That is really nice, Rebecca. We've got just a couple of minutes left. So I want to just ask you this question as we end this conversation. You have, let's say, for an example, you had 2 minutes that you knew that you had to tell the world and your family something meaningful, and then that was the last that you was going to be able to tell them. What would you use that 2 minutes in telling us, the world, and your family in 2 minutes? What's important to you?
The most important thing to me is my relationship with the Lord, my faith in God, and my close relationship with my Savior, Jesus Christ, and how He has helped me through everything, and He's given me joy in things, and I can't imagine life without Him walking by my side. And that is the most important thing. And then, of course, I would want to tell my children and my family I love them.
Rebecca, thank you very much. This has been enlightening and been entertaining, but it's also been uplifting. And I suspect that those that are struggling will, that watch this, will be helped, realizing that someone like yourself can go from heartbreak to happiness. And I think that's what you've done.
Yes. Purposefully.
Purposely. I'm glad you brought that up. I missed that in my kind of closing there, and I'm glad you brought that up. You do it on purpose. Make the decision to be happy and find joy.
Right.
Thank you, Rebecca.
All right. Thank you.
We will talk again, have another conversation. But in the meantime, keep in touch.